Hey there, I'm Joel Alsop, and this is St. Jude Storied Lives. I get to talk to all kinds of people for this podcast, and that's because patients at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital come from all over the world. I grew up in Chattanooga, and when I was a patient and throughout my career at ALSAC, I've met people from Poland, Mexico, Chile, England, Bolivia, Nigeria, and those are just to name a few. And today, I want you to meet Mariangeles. She was diagnosed with cancer in Venezuela. This was over 20 years ago, and patients back then faced a very different climate than they did in the United States.
For us to hear you have cancer, they just tell us go home and try to be as happy as you can until the cancer takes over you. And it's sad because not everybody get the blessings that they should.
So Mariangeles is part of a big family. She has 11 brothers and 4 sisters. Her dad was a doctor, and her mom worked for the Venezuelan government in organizational psychology. And when she was little, Maria, as her friends and family call her, was always busy.
I was very involved in extracurricular activities. If there was dance, pageants, you name it, I was involved. My mom always wanted us to be doing something after school. So whether it was playing tennis, I was a model. Uh-huh. It's part of our Venezuelan culture. And then I was also involved in a lot of church things.
So you're growing up happy, busy, full life in Venezuela. Then around the time you hit your teenage years, you start noticing maybe something's wrong. What were those first signs that something might be up?
I started to get really, really tired. I will go home and just want to take these long naps. And then I will wake up, barely eat dinner, and then I will go back to sleep like I didn't take a nap. And my dad was like, okay, maybe you're becoming a little bit anemic. Something is not quite right.
Did you start going to the hospital immediately for checkups, or what went after that?
So I would tell you a funny story. My dad was a physician, right? So you will think that they would take me to the hospital the first thing. Well, that's not how it happened. So it wasn't until it was a Sunday, and we went to grocery shopping, and me and my older brother, we were just being brother and sister, and we were arguing, and he throws something at me, and then he hit me. And you would have thought that I went into a boxing ring. I mean, my bruise got to be so big on my leg. It was all colors. It was purple. It was yellow. And my dad was like, okay, something is not right. That's when my fever started to get really, really high. And my mom was like, we're going to the doctor. Yeah. My dad's clinic. Mm-hmm. And the oncologist then told my parents that I had leukemia.
Did the doctor or your parents tell you that you had cancer? What went through your mind when you hear that?
Well, they told me I had a stomach bug. And they were like, we have to transfer you to the public hospital. And I was like, why are we going to the public hospital? Like, what's going on? And my mom was like, well, the doctor that needs to see you is at that hospital. So my fever was so high that it was kind of like a dream. And I woke up and I was sharing the room with 5 other kids.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And it was a teenager, 16-year-old, bald-headed kid that he goes like, what are you here for? And I was like, oh, I have a stomach bug. He goes like, stomach bug? If you're in this room, you either have leukemia, a tumor, or you're about to die, Doug.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I was like, what did you just say?
Uh-huh.
So that's how I found out.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, what went through my mind was, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. I remember my dad walking in the room, looking up at him and saying, Dad, I need you to tell me the truth. And I've never seen my dad cry, like going into his knees and saying, we're going to do everything we can. But they just told us that you have a week left. Your mom is doing everything to get you. We're going to get you to this place. It's in Memphis, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I was like, where's Memphis, Tennessee? And he was like, it's where Elvis is from. And I'm like, who's Elvis? He's like, you know Elvis? And I'm like, no, I don't know Elvis. And I was like, my question to him was like, am I going to die? Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those moments of like, my mom and my dad were so strong on faith and on you're not going to die. But in my mind, when I said goodbye to my family and my friends, I said goodbye. I didn't think I was going back.
And so this is obviously because the cancer is so far advanced. They're getting you to St. Jude. What went through your mind as you know that you're going to be leaving your country, leaving family and friends? What are you thinking then?
I was very scared. I didn't speak English. And I was like, oh, gosh, I only know how to say Disney World, French fries, popcorn, and that's all I need. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what kind of hospital I was going to.
If you didn't know who Elvis was, I can't imagine you would know what the interior of St. Jude was like. So walk us through that. You get here to St. Jude. What was it like arriving here that first day?
So we arrived, and I remember, we're Catholic, so I remember looking at the statue of St. Jude. Yeah. My mom was like, he's receiving us. It's going to work. We're going to walk out of here with you again. And we walked in, and a whole team of people were like waiting for us. But one lady, and it's special, Miss Rosa, first thing that she said, she was like, bienvenida. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you speak our language. And they had a whole team. My doctor, he's from Brazil. Mm-hmm. From the moment he called me his princess. And as so many of our journeys often do, the chemotherapy and the treatment didn't go exactly as planned, did it? Nope. They started the chemotherapy, and that's when I like to describe it as like that's when I left myself in the world for a little bit. Yeah. And I came back a month later to be myself. A fungal infection took me into a very, very bad shape where they had to induce me into a coma. That coma took me for 7 days. And then on the 4th day, the doctors, they thought that the fungal infection had reached my brain. Mm-hmm. And they did try a trial drug. And when they did wing me off for a few days, I didn't respond it. But I did respond it on day 7, and I woke up. Do you remember any, do you have any vivid thoughts from that time at all? I do, actually. I mean, I can tell you that, I did see myself. And one of the most crazy things that my mom was like, there's no way that you can know that. I mean, those doors, like I remember the of the opening doors of at the ICU. And a Scooby-Doo balloon that the nurses had brought me that was sitting in the corner behind me. And my mom was like, it was behind you, but like you were not. And I was like, yeah, I was standing in front of it. Wow. Wow. You get out of that, work your way back to chemotherapy. How does the rest of your treatment go while you're at St. Jude? Oh, man, you would think that was the worst, right? So you go through that. I wake up. I remember I came in October 1st. Halloween's one of the most fun times at St. Jude. Absolutely. I get out of ICU October 30th, right before Halloween. Oh, you cannot go to the party because you have no immune system. Yeah, you got to stay away from germs. Then. It's like, sorry, like you can look at the party from the nice, pretty glass. Uh-huh. And I'm like, oh, great. But you get all the gifts. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take that. You do that, and then they bring me into the room, and I see the translator coming in the room. And I was like, okay, so when do I get to go home? I'm good, right? So my doctor comes in. He's like, you have no trace of cancer. Your cancer is gone. Wow. And I was great. Like, let's go. Let's go home. I'm going to go home. Uh-huh. But we have to continue treatment. Yes. And I was like, oh, but why? And he goes, your second chemo is the tough one. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that first one was not the tough one. Your second chemo. It's going to be a little bit more. We're going to wipe your accounts again. Then we're going to see how your body's going to react. But you're going to lose all of your hair. Mm-hmm. I looked at my mom. I was 13 years old. And I was like, I'm good. I don't want to. You said that you had the cancer under control. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to look like an alien. I don't want to lose my hair. That was my identity. Yeah. My hair was my identity. But then it's crazy because St. Jude makes it so unique, and it's such a bubble.
Yes,
But then
absolutely.
the people that have hair, they're the weird ones, you know? They're like, oh, they must have just arrived. Like, why are you here for? You know, it was hard.
I understand that. So you go through the rest of your treatment, of course, all the fun side effects of chemo, getting sick,
Yeah.
losing hair. When did you finish your treatment at St. Jude?
6 months. So the promise that my doctor that he was able to keep, because you know how they tell you, you know, it's like a promise that doesn't have an expiration. I'm gonna try my best.
Yes.
But I told him, I was like, I want you to promise at the best that you can that you're gonna get me out of here before my 14th birthday. So April 13th, I went in October 1st, April 13th, 6 months into chemotherapy. He did everything that he could. All my counts were good. 6 months to the dot, I was walking out of the doors of St. Jude, and I got back home to Venezuela April 18th, the day before my birthday.
Awesome. What was it like being back home in Venezuela?
You know, I thought it was gonna be the happiest day of my life. You know, I ate all of the foods, all of the cheese that I did not have here for the 6 months. I think I got my stomach. I got sick to my stomach that night because I ate everything that I could when I got back. But then trying to go back to that society was hard.
Yeah.
You know, I was 80, almost 90 pounds still because of the treatment. My hair was still growing. I looked sick still, even though I was not going through the chemo anymore. It was very hard. I was bullied at school a little bit because I did not look like the other girls. I wanted to come back to St. Jude. I was like looking for, I have a rash, or I think I need to go back, Dad. When is it 3 months? When do we have to go back? And I think that's why my mom made the decision for us to move permanently to Memphis, because it was my bubble.
So that meant you ended up back in the U.S. and in Memphis for those high school years, eventually college. What was it as you went through high school that you decided you wanted to pursue?
I did. So I came back for my 10th grade, went to Memphis Catholic High School, went to University of Memphis. I met so many people, you know, loved every bit of it. My sorority sisters, I'm a Sigma Kappa, joined a sorority. I was living life, full of life. And I did an internship for what now is Raymond James and Associates.
Okay. Yeah.
Worked in the financial world for many, many years. And I'll be honest with you, Joe, like I did remove myself a little bit because I didn't want to be identified as the cancer kid.
I completely understand that.
I did not tell people why I was in Memphis. I created a career on my own, a persona that I was like very, very successful. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago where I was at a gala for St. Jude. I always supported. I lost a lot of friends, so I always supported on their behalf. And the opportunity came, and they offered me a job.
Yeah.
And you know, it took me a while to close that circle, but it was the best decision that I ever made.
That's amazing. And another great thing came here in Memphis, too. I don't know if this was pre the gala or after the gala, but you met your husband.
I did. I met my husband playing tennis.
Nice.
My coach, actually, was like, you need to meet this guy. And I was like,
way to go, coach.
I was like, do I? And he's like, he's completely opposite than you. You know, you talk, he doesn't. I'm like, why do I need to meet him then? And, you know, I'm happily married with him now. So. But yes, I met him. He's born and raised from Memphis. So another thing that thanks, you know, to St. Jude I have, because if it would have been from moving to Memphis, I would have never met him.
Yeah. And did you, when you were initially going out with him, did you tell him about your cancer journey, or was it something you hesitated and waited to tell him about?
I waited a little bit. Yeah. He knew that I had come to Memphis from Venezuela for a thing. He just didn't know what that think
Uh-huh.
he thought my mom had been transferred from work, and it was interesting because as you know we developed. One of my friend told him, "Oh my gosh, yeah, Maria was a cancer patient," and he goes like, "Oh, she was," and I was like, "Why did you tell me?"
Well, it's tough. You want to be the person to break that news,
And he was like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, it's not that, because I don't want you to feel sorry. And he was like, I will never feel sorry. That's not how it goes. And so, from then I told him, but it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I was giving a tour to one of my heroes that came for the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was way before COVID when we were able to give the hospital tours. Yeah. And I was like, babe, you really want to hear my story? Come on. And the whole time I'm giving the tour and he's crying. And I'm like, see, this is why I didn't want you to come.
Yeah.
And my hero goes, this was the best tour ever because I just could see that this is the first time that he's actually heard the story.
Well, that's awesome. You had someone so accepting in your life right away.
Yes.
Another family, too. Is your mom still in the United States? Do you guys still stay close?
Yes, she's in Houston, but she comes to Memphis. I mean, she moved to Houston about 8 years ago, but she comes to Memphis all the time. Mm-hmm. And I go to Houston all the time.
And what does she mean to you, knowing she's set by your side in those most difficult times?
My mom is my rock. My mom and my dad, they were already divorced when I went through treatment, so my dad had to go back to be with his family. Mm-hmm. And my mom, I always say it, and I will always say it, my mom is the reason why I'm still here. Because there were days that I was ready to give up, and she fought that fight for me. I wanted to fight, and I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And she took the armor and fought for me those days. So she means the world to me. Of course, as Latinas, we butt heads all the time, but that is my mom. And, one of the things that she represents to me is it's the power of being strong. I mean, my mom is a strong woman. I mean, the cancer better be scared of her because she was like, you ain't taking her. I'll fight you. Uh-huh. And she did. She did. She never let the word cancer scare her.
That's so perfectly put, because I'm married to a fellow St. Jude survivor, and we talk about that too, of like you get older and you realize how strong your parents were when you went through this. It truly is an amazing thing to see. So, obviously now working for the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude, you still get to see a lot of the hospital. You get to see a lot of St. Jude. What does it mean to you, or what do you think about whenever you see kids who are in treatment at St. Jude right now?
Man, it's crazy because to me it's like it never stops. Yeah. A lot of the time working here, we say it, we won't stop. St. Jude don't stop. But it's the truth. I mean, those kids come in every day through the door. So now that I see them, and now I'm in the fighting, for making sure that we get money in. It's like I have to work harder. Yeah. I have to work harder. But in my mind, it's like, man, like they're here already. They're getting the best treatment. In my mind, I'm always like, tomorrow, the ones that they're gonna hear, you have cancer. Those are the ones that I need to be proactively working even harder for, and the ones around the world that we're now helping.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about next. What does it mean to you, especially when you see kids who are coming from other countries to be treated here?
Oh, it makes my heart smile. For us to hear you have cancer, they just tell us go home and try to be as happy as you can until the cancer takes over you. And it's sad because not everybody get the blessings that they should, I would say. I don't know how else to put it. I will tell you that when I went back home, I tried to find that kid that told me, oh, if you're here, he was the one that told me that I had leukemia in a way. And come to find out that he died a few months after because he didn't have the rounds of chemo that he needed. So for me, it was very tough to hear that. But to know that St. Jude now it's working to send not just the protocol, but the chemotherapy.
Yes.
You have no idea how much that means for somebody that was sitting in a bed with somebody that died because they didn't have that chemotherapy. So it means the world. It means the world.
And so it's been a little over 20 years now since you've been declared cancer-free. When you think back on what you've gotten to do in these last couple of decades, what does all of that mean to you, and that St. Jude played such a role in that?
Man, it's like you're given a chance. You're given an opportunity to be somebody, to go through milestones. I mean, 23 years will be
Wow.
23 years, and it's just, I'm just so thankful. But I'm definitely more thankful for those people that 23 years ago were giving, so I was able to give that chance.
And so we look back there, thinking ahead over the next 20 years. What do you envision life being like for you?
I just hope there's no more extra doors that we have to go through with side effects, aka what's next, right? But I just, just full of life. I just, enjoy my husband, hopefully be a mom, get the privilege to hold a baby in my hands and call it mine and be selected to be their mom. And just do good and keep working hard, because we can stop. There are kids across the street that needs our help. However I can help.
You're providing tremendous help, and thank you. This is helping people too. So thank you so much, Mariangeles, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Joel, and thank you, everybody in the team for counting me for this, and thank you for everybody listening, and cannot thank you guys enough.
So when Mariangeles came to St. Jude, she was stepping into the unknown in a country far away. But not everyone can make that trip. Reports say that only 29% of low to middle income countries have access to quality cancer medications for children. St. Jude is changing that through the global platform for access to childhood cancer medications. St. Jude estimates this platform will reach 120,000 children by 2027. You can read more about this $200 million commitment and show your support online at stjude.org or click the link in the episode description. This podcast is a production of ALSAC, the fundraising and awareness organization for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It's recorded by Jason Latshaw and Andres Garcia. Produced by Jeffrey Reddick. Edited by Grace Corsiqua Evans. Music production by Casimir Boyle. Lewis Graham is the executive producer. I'm Joel Alsop. Thanks for listening, and join us next time.